How can we combine lenses to build a microscope? Which combination of lenses makes a telescope? How do microscopes and telescopes bend light to magnify images? These are the questions that students will explore in Investigation 21D, Build a Microscope and a Telescope. Microscopes and telescopes each use two lenses, the eyepiece lens and the objective lens, separated by the right distance to produce magnified images. In this four-part investigation, students will experiment with lenses to make a microscope and a telescope. In parts 1 and 2, students will first determine which two lenses can be used to create a simple microscope by experimenting with two lenses at a time to create an image. Then they will use these lenses to construct a microscope on the track and model the microscope in an interactive simulation. In parts 3 and 4, students will first determine which two lenses can be used to magnify a distant object, then use those lenses to build a simple telescope on the track, and finally model the telescope in an interactive simulation. Figuring out which two lenses can be used to create a microscope will take some experimentation. Trial and error is a big piece of part 1. Try your options, see what works, fail quickly, and then try something else. For part 1, you will need a meter stick and a piece of graph paper, as well as 3 lenses. You'll have 2 convex lenses with focal lengths of 10 centimeters and 50 centimeters, and a concave lens with a focal length of -20 centimeters. Lay the graph paper flat on the table, with the ruler upright along one side. Hold one lens, the objective lens, about 15 centimeters above the paper. And then hold the eyepiece lens close to your eye. Move the eyepiece lens up and down to try to magnify the image created by the objective lens. In this case, I'm using 2 convex lenses. The 10 centimeter convex lens is my objective lens, and the 50 centimeter convex lens is my eyepiece. When you succeed in creating a magnified image, have your partner record on your student handout the lenses that you used and the approximate distance of each lens above the graph paper when you had the best image. Once you have determined the lenses that magnify the object, you can construct a microscope on the track using 3 lens mounts and 2 lenses. We will use the 10 centimeter focal length lens as the objective lens, the 50 centimeter focal length lens as the eyepiece, and a piece of written text mounted as our object. Set up the lens mounts using the distances that you measured and adjust the positions on the track to increase the magnification while keeping a clear image. You can read the object distance and the lens separation from the track and record it on the student sheet. In part 2, we will model the simple microscope using the Essential Physics Compound Optics simulation. We will open the simulation and enter the values for our microscope lenses, both the focal lengths and the positions. If you use the position values directly off of the track, the image may be outside of the diagram. I found that by adding 1.1 meters to each position value, I was able to see the image on my plot. You may also need to resize the object height to be sure that the entire image is visible on your diagram. From the simulation, we can see that the object for the objective lens is just outside of the focal point, and that the image of the objective lens, which is the object for the eyepiece, is just inside the focal point of the eyepiece. This will create a magnified virtual image, which is located on the left end of our diagram. This image is inverted. Figuring out which 2 lenses are needed to create a telescope is another chance to play with the 3 lenses that we used in Part 1. For Part 3, we will use a poster or writing on a far wall as our object and look at it through the same 3 lenses. We have 2 convex lenses with focal lengths of 10 centimeters and 50 centimeters, and a concave lens with a focal length of -20 centimeters. Choose 2 lenses at one time and hold one at arm's length and the other close to your eye. I found it easiest to hold the lenses mounted in their holders. Test to see which 2 can magnify a distant object, such as writing, across the room. These make a telescope. Once you have the object magnified, hold still and have your partner measure the approximate distance between the lenses in your hands. Using the lenses that worked and the distance between them, you can construct a telescope on the track using 2 lens mounts and 2 lenses. We will use the 50 centimeter focal length lens as the objective lens and the 10 centimeter focal length lens as the eyepiece. This is a Keplerian telescope. It is also possible to construct a telescope using a concave eyepiece, as Galileo demonstrated. In order to measure the magnification, try marking the eyepiece with a dry erase pen and then looking through the lens at the wall across the room. I'm going to make marks about 3 centimeters apart. And when you look across the room, you can have a partner place pins or stickers on the wall that line up with the dots on the eyepiece, and then measure the distance between the pins or stickers. If you divide the distance that you measure on the wall by the 3 centimeter separation on your lens, you will get the magnification of your telescope. Another way to measure the magnification is to set up a meter stick across the room and view the meter stick through the eyepiece with dry erase dots. You can then divide the distance along the meter stick matching the dots by their 3 centimeter separation to get the magnification of your telescope. In Part 4, students can use the compound optics simulation to model the simple telescope the same way that they modeled the microscope in Part 2.